I don't think anyone is surprised that Donald Trump's presidency has been driven by corruption. It was no shock to anyone that this con artist would spend his time trying to profit off the presidency. But how publicly he's done it, that is what has been the shock. And not to just Democrats and independents, but to Trump's biggest loyalist. And one of them just spoke out against him and stabbed him in the back after his latest corruption scandal was revealed. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, the loyalist speaking out against Donald Trump, you may remember as the insane conspiracy theorist Laura Loomer, but you might not know yet this shocking corruption scandal. So before we get into what she had to say, let's take a look at the latest corruption coming out of this White House that was broken down on MSNBC.
Donald Trump is going to receive, and I want my executive producer to listen to this carefully so I say it correctly, the gift of a plane, which Donald Trump is going to then use as his official plane until he's not president, at which point it goes to his library or something from the government of Qatar. I don't even, Rick.
First off, this is what we call a bribe. It's not a gift. It's a bribe. This is a bribe. This is a very, very expensive 747-8. It's a very fancy plane. And in fact, the reason I think that Qatar has been so smart about this is the interior decorating style looks like Saddam and Liberace's decorators got together and said, let's make a flying brothel that will appeal to Donald Trump. It is the most vulgar thing you've ever seen in your life. But that is this is a bribe. This is not a gift. It's not a loan. It's not a deal. It's a bribe. And we need to just recognize how transactional and corrupt this is.
But this is weird. Like last time Trump's first official visit, in fact, had the Pope not died, this would be his first official visit, right? Because, and it was Saudi Arabia last time, and it's Saudi Arabia this time, and Saudi Arabia is getting outdone by its little neighbors who are coming up with bigger deals. I mean, that UAE deal that I was just talking about, it's crazy. They're investing something through a Trump meme coin, and Trump's sons are going to be the platform on which. I mean, you can't make the stuff up, Dean.
There are dictators around the world looking at Trump going, this guy knows what he's doing. This is the kind of corruption we dream of doing. And like, what's remarkable about the Qatari plane, in the emoluments clause, it says you can't get anything from a king, a prince, or a foreign country. This is all three wrapped into one plane. He's got everything. It's a king, a prince, and a foreign country. Give him a plane to fly around. No one, we've never heard of another president accepting a massive plane of $400 million from another country to play. You play with it for a few years, see if you like it, and you can buy it or not. Of course it's a bribe. It's transactional. Everything about the guy is transactional. So this is what's going on. And by the way, his kids just started a whole bunch of for-profit business enterprises in that whole UAE, United Emirates area, and Saudi, and Gulf. Of course, America is for sale to Donald Trump. We are living in a third world country. That's what it looks like. If you saw us another country, you go, that's a corrupt country. And you say about America, you'd be right.
This is wild.
Yep.
That said, the subject at hand is there seems to be something going on amongst House Republicans, and that's saying a lot, who are saying somewhere between your tariff stuff and your budget and how Americans are feeling. I'm not sure I can stay with you on this.
Look, hope springs eternal about the myth of the strong Republican. And most of the people right now who are muttering off the record will never come out, never cast a vote against Trump. But there are enough now in this very narrow majority that Mike Johnson has in the House who have said, I'm not going to add trillions of dollars to the deficit to pay for a tax cut for Elon Musk.
In a lot of the reporting I am seeing around this just shocking and disgusting public display of corruption, the coverage is not focused enough on what happens after Donald Trump hopefully leaves the presidency, which is he gets the plane. He gets to keep the plane. This is not a gift to the U.S. government. Even if it were just a gift to the U.S. government, it's still blatantly a bribe. But Donald Trump's presidential library, where he has been instructing the lawsuits settled, right, whenever CBS or NBC or whatever organization that settles a lawsuit with Donald Trump, all that we've seen that money going to lately, it's going to his presidential library. That's where the plane goes after. Now, who says that the plane has to sit and be a part of it like it is in Reagan's library, Or why can't Donald Trump just use all the money that has been paid out in his settlements and in his lawsuits to make sure he can continue to pay to fly around on the plane? That's what is happening. It is insane levels of corruption, so much so that, like I said, Laura Loomer publicly called out Donald Trump for it. And we can see that in this article right here. I am so disappointed. MAGA star who would take a bullet for Trump condemns his new move. Among the Republicans who are revolting against Donald Trump's latest reported move is a controversial ally who admits she would take a bullet for him. Laura Loomer, known for her conspiracy theories as well for her devotion to the president, issued a statement after it was reported that Trump's administration is considering and is actually now reportedly receiving a $400 million gift from the country of Qatar. The purported gift is a plane that would be used as Air Force One, as well as for Trump's post-presidency travel. Loomer said, "I love President Trump. I would take a bullet for him, but I have to call a spade a spade." She added, "We cannot accept a $400 million gift from jihadists in suits. The Qataris fund the same Iranian proxies in Hamas and Hezbollah who have murdered U.S. service members." Loomer concluded, "The same proxies that have worked with the Mexican cartels to get jihadists across our border. This is really going to be such a stain on the admin if this is true. And I say this as someone who would take a bullet for Trump. I'm so disappointed." In a separate post, Loomer commented about her closeness to the president. "The president has hired me 4 times. All 4 directives to onboard me have been blocked by his staff," she wrote. When Laura Loomer is calling out Donald Trump for his corruption, you know it is bad. And I just have to say it again. There is a reason that Donald Trump is directing these settlements in all of his lawsuits to be paid out to his presidential library. First of all, it's because it allows those corporations like Disney or Paramount to write them off on their taxes. So it goes both ways. But also because Donald Trump is very clearly looking to fund some post-presidency activities through his library. It is all a scam. It is all a scheme. And if Laura Loomer of all people can point that out, then I don't know how MAGA can't wrap their heads around this. It is blatant corruption, and they do it out in the public because they think that makes it transparent and fine, but it just shows that they don't care. Donald Trump does not care. You get $2 and 1 pencil for your kids, but Donald Trump gets a $400 million jumbo jet? This is insanity. And again, coming from Laura Loomer makes it all the much more shocking, considering a new report that just came out about her closeness to Donald Trump, which should really, really scare you.
It was in that first term, right? It seemed there were a lot more people keeping those folks at bay, but that's not the case anymore. How different is it from the first term?
This is something that I warned about in the lead up to the 2024 election, was how the administration would be staffed and be staffed differently. You're not going to have those people who are pushing back on him like a John Kelly, for example. It's going to be people like Stephen Miller who are putting out these crazy ideas like wanting to suspend habeas corpus. And they're probably going to get away with doing some of these crazy things. Something like that, I'm not sure could actually happen since it would take congressional approval. But I mean, for example, you look at like them putting these immigrants on these flights to El Salvador. That was a Stephen Miller idea. Clearly didn't get any pushback. And so it is alarming because it's showing that I feel like they're kind of encouraging Trump's worst instincts. And then a lot of the policies that he maybe wanted to do during a first term that he was persuaded against doing, now I feel like you're going to see happen and put forward.
Well, and that's something I want to dig a little bit deeper in, because the through line in all of this is Stephen Miller becoming all powerful. And his comments
he's still
about...
a staffer. He's still
a staffer, but he might soon be national security advisor, too. It's been speculated that not only is he going to run domestic policy, but also foreign policy. What drives Stephen Miller? He has such an intense fervor for getting rid of immigration in the United States and ending asylum, and with a passion that I really just don't think we've seen since around the time of the invasion of Iraq and the hardcore wanting to invade Iraq. What is behind his immigration policy?
Yeah, I mean, he said it just last week. He thinks that we need to suspend habeas corpus because he believes that we are under invasion. And it's clear that he has, I'm not going to try to, I guess, explain, psychoanalyze what his.
You don't Stephen Miller's head.
I don't want to get inside Stephen Miller's mind, actually.
You were in comms under him, right? Because he was essentially the head of comms, I guess, first term. So you really do know kind of his motivation.
Yeah, and I will say he's definitely one of, I would say, the worst actors in a Trump administration, in a staff. He's going to be the one that's pushing these radical ideas. And he has a lot of power and a lot of sway with Trump because he's been a loyalist. He's been there basically from the beginning. And so he has a lot of power, and that should be concerning to people.
Well, I'm just going to say it. Stephen Miller is cruel. Dan, I'm going to come to you because we're going to say Stephen Miller is a staffer. Let's talk about someone who's not a staffer, who wields, I guess, just as much power as Stephen Miller, and that's Laura Loomer. Can you talk about, since you are the one at the table from the most recent administration, what it's like to have someone who is not a staffer, certainly not Senate confirmed, but can walk into the White House, say something to the president, and have it happen like that?
I think it's just incredibly, at least in modern times, unprecedented, right? Staffers are always in the ear of a president. There is certainly plenty of precedent from Karl Rove all the way down of people who have who wield power in the White House and are able to influence the decisions of the president. That's a very different scenario than some talk show host coming in and saying you should be doing this, and all of a sudden it happens. I have an interesting take on this, I think, at least though. Let me know. Which is, I think that he is using Laura Loomer as a pretext to do the things that a lot of people outside the White House are pressuring him to do, right? The Michael Waltz firing, for example. He didn't want to give a scalp, so to speak, to many of his critics in the initial stages of this, but then Laura Loomer did it so that he could say that he did it because she told him to do it. I think that's what he's seeing over and over again, is that he's using her almost as a pretext for the things that he's getting pressure from other people that he doesn't like as much to be able to do.
I thought it was bad when drunk Pete Hegseth and incompetent signal-loving Mike Waltz were the ones in charge of keeping us safe, but Laura Loomer added to that list. That is terrifying. That is terrifying. This is an administration of incompetence. It's an administration run by yes men. And who are they saying yes to? A man who is in cognitive decline. I don't know how to further stress how much danger we are all in with these idiots in the White House. And other countries are jumping at the opportunity to prey upon them. They are bribing Donald Trump, knowing no one in his administration will oppose them. And I wouldn't be shocked if anyone in the administration was getting themselves a little side deal to try to influence this idiotic man. Like, how are we at this point? Imagine if this was any other president, any other politician. It would be the hair on fire at the Fox propaganda outlet. And that's how we have to respond in calling it out. I'm certainly going to be every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.